Hello everyone, Sote Hato. Before starting, I'll be introducing myself. I'm Caitlin Adrian from class 7A and my absent number is 6. Today, I'm going to be talking about my English literacy book review. And the books are both of these. I'm going to start by explaining about this book, The Ghost of Thomas Kempe. This book has 203 pages with 12 chapters, and its author is Penelope Lively, born on 1933. She's a prolific author with over 50 novels for both children and adults. The Ghost of Thomas Kempe was published in 1973. It was also inspired by her two kids. While writing this book, Penelope Lively lived in a 16th century cottage in Oxfordshire with her husband and her two kids. And this novel is about a misunderstood boy named James and a grumpy poltergeist. And its genre is a low fantasy novel for children, and it's a supernatural fiction. Now let's move on to the quick summary. As I said, this book has 12 chapters, so I'm going to explain all of these chapters. And let's start with the first one. The first one is James and his family. James is the misunderstood boy. James and his family moves into a new house in the village of Letcham. And James discovers an old diary in the attic written by Thomas Kempe, the former resident of the house. And now moving on to chapter 2. In chapter 2, James finds a mysterious grimoire. A grimoire is a magical book or some sort. I'm not really sure, but yeah, a grimoire in the diary, and becomes interested in practicing some of the spells. Because, yeah, of course, who wouldn't resist trying some magical spells? And moving on to chapter 3. Chapter 3, James tries a spell from the grimoire to summon a ghost, but he doesn't believe it because, yeah, he's just a kid. Magic isn't that real, I guess. But surprisingly, he starts experiencing abnormal and paranormal events in his house. Well, he should believe that magic was real. Now, moving on to chapter 4. Chapter 4, James realizes that adults in the village are starting to behave strangely, and he suspects that the cause of the strange events was because of him doing the spells. And yeah, moving on to chapter 5. James meets the ghost of Thomas Kempe, who is upset about being summoned and demands that James help him break the magical connection. And going to chapter 6, Thomas Kempe continues to cause havoc and chaos in the village, and James struggles to find a way to stop him because he's just a little kid. He's weak and he doesn't really know much magic because he only found a grimoire and summoned a ghost. And yeah, now moving on to chapter 7. James learns more about Thomas Kempe, the former residents, and Thomas Kempe's past, and discovers that he must find a way to free the ghost from his connection to the house. And on chapter 8, James faces difficulties in breaking the connection between Thomas Kempe and the house, and the situation becomes more and more complicated. And in chapter 9, James starts to create a plan to outsmart Thomas Kempe and break the magical link between the house and Thomas Kempe. And in chapter 10, James attempts to free Thomas Kempe are not entirely successful. leading to more chaos in the village. And in chapter 11, James searches for the help of Mr. Blenkinshop, a local historian in the village of Letcham, to understand more about Thomas Kempis' past and history and how to end the supernatural events. And lastly, in chapter 12, the story concludes that James, with the help of Mr. Blenkinshop, the local historian, they find a way to permanently rid of the house and Thomas Kempis' ghost. And yeah, that's all the 12 chapters. Let's now move on to why I recommend it. Why? Though I'm not really into this kind of genres, like as I said before, it's a low fantasy novel for kids or something, and supernatural fiction. It's still fun to read, and I recommend it to y'all girls and boys who like this genre. And the plot is quite interesting to me, so yeah, I could still read it. Now, let's move on to my second book, Every Last Word. It has 281 pages, and the author is Tamara Ironstone. She's an American author known for her young adult fiction. She was born in 1969, which makes her 55 this year. Some of her famous novels are Time Between Us, with its sequel, Time After Time. And the book I'm going to talk about now is Every Last Word. This book is about the protagonist's struggle with OCD and her journey to self-acceptance. And the genre is modern fiction and young adult literature. Now, moving on to the quick summary. This book is about a girl named Samantha McAllister that has OCD and experiences anxiety attacks and is consumed by dark thoughts and worries that she can't turn off, so she can't really control it. And Samantha here, or Sam I'll be calling, she has a manipulative friend group called the Eights that she had since like elementary or kindergarten, but it's now down to 5. But yeah, her manipulative friend group. But one day at school, she met a person. Her name was Caroline Madsen. The person she met was Caroline Madsen, and when Sam opened up to Caroline about her trips to the psychiatrist, Sam was confused and shocked that Caroline wasn't surprised about the fact that she goes to the psychiatrist. And turns out that Caroline has depression. And after they opened up, I think Caroline invited Sam to go to the edge of the theater where they talked, and to the edge of the theater where the piano is at, and Caroline wanted her to wait there on a Thursday. Sam waited and waited until Caroline came, and alas, Caroline came to pick her up, and Caroline asked Sam to follow her, and Caroline brought Sam into a hidden room in the theater, in that school, and Caroline introduced Sam to the Poet's Corner. It's a hidden room where a group of misfits meets, and Sam then was accepted by Poet's Corner to be a member of it, and it changed her whole life. But its ending was bittersweet because something was wrong about how it happened, and I won't be spoiling it of course. And moving on to why I recommend it. As a person who likes romance, I recommend this book to y'all romance readers and people who enjoy reading, or both reading or watching romance. But warning, this is a young adult literature. in this book there are things that are more appropriate and suitable for adults to read. So I recommend this to the 13 plus readers or the young matured adults or tweens. Yeah. But yeah, in my opinion, this is a great book. I'm almost finished, but I already got the plot of the story. So yeah. So this is all for my book review of the first book, The Ghost of Thomas Kempe, and the second book, Every Last Word. I hope, and that's all. Thank you for listening. Thank you everyone. Sati Hato.